welcome to the video. So how to be an absolute legend and 100x your money with a Rolex. Leave it to your grandchildren, be remembered forever as the cool parent, grandparent who brought a Rolex 50, 60 years ago. So today we are talking about a viral video that I posted regarding the Antiques Roadshow where a guy takes his GMT on. I posted a short of this video and it's had 500,000 views. So let's give it a watch. I'm going to give you my reaction. I've also gone over some of the numbers and regarding how much that would be in today's money. So let's get into it.
Is the first model GMT Master that was Rolex ever made.
I didn't know that.
It's a model 6542. It's incredible that you've saved everything. Is there a reason why you saved all this paperwork? We usually don't see this.
I don't know. I'm just lucky, I guess.
Just the watch on its own merit would be worth today between $35,000 and $45,000. But this watch is worth much more. What did you pay for this watch?
This watch, I paid the $120.
Was that a lot of money back in 1960?
It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
My salary in the Army was just under $100 a month.
Okay, so let's talk about that quickly. So he paid $120 in 1960 for a Rolex. It's really hard for us to comprehend the value of $120 in 1960, but him telling us how much he earned back in 1960 in a month really helps put it into context for us. So he said he earned just under $100 a month in the Army in 1960, and this watch cost him $120. So he spent over a month's wages on a Rolex, but it's not 2 months' wages, it's just over a month's wages. So what is $120 in today's money? $120 adjusted for inflation today is $1,205 adjusted for inflation, okay? Putting it better into context, you know, he earned $100 or just under, he says, $100 a month. How much does a normal Army person earn today in dollars? Well, I did a little Google, and a normal private in the Army today gets $2,149. So yeah, $2,149, forgive me. How much does the GMT cost in today's money? Well, the GMT watch, the new equivalent of what he's buying there, costs approximately, depending where you are in the world, $12,000. So you get an idea that Rolexes are more expensive these days than what they were back in the 1960s. You know, the average monthly salary is not $12,000, but the price has gone up a lot more than inflation. Anyway, we'll come back more to this, but let's let the video play on. But I just wanted to put those numbers into context for you.
Because you saved the box and all the paperwork for it. Easily today, it's $65,000 to $75,000 in the market. Probably more than a month's pay in the military right now.
Wow. I had no idea.
I just love his reaction. He is literally blown away, speechless. I think he goes on to say he's speechless. Here we go.
I'm speechless.
Just want to touch on this point. What did he say? Something like $45,000 without the box and papers. $65,000 to $75,000 with the box and papers. Keep your box and papers safe. It is real money. You want to keep your box and papers. Obviously these days it's not papers, it's a card. Keep your card, keep your box, keep them safe. It affects the value of the watch. I think this is a really cool story. Like, you know, an elderly guy, obviously you can see how speechless he is. He's not perhaps got a gazillion dollars in the bank, and that this is meaningful to him. You know, all it was is him buying a Rolex 60 years ago and just looking after it and keeping hold of the box and papers. From the comments in the short that I've seen, a lot of the comments are people stating how happy they are for him, and it's just a nice story, and I think that's why it's got so many views, because it is a cool story. Today I am wearing my Rolex GMT, as we're talking about GMTs today. So yes, thought I'd do a little on the wrist check and show you that. Absolutely love wearing this watch. Feel free to check out the video where I did a updated review on it. But let's get back into this. A lot of people comment on, oh, but if you'd put that money in the stock market, you'd have this much money. So Yeah, it's true, actually. I did the numbers. If you put $120 in the stock market in 1960, and if you just invested it in the equivalent of the S&P 500, assuming an average return of 10.5%, which is the average return of the S&P 500 over the years, that would be $71,510 today. But back in those days, they didn't have index funds, and you would be paying sort of management fees and stuff like that. So you wouldn't really, you wouldn't really have got quite as much as 71,000 today. But I don't personally believe you should buy a watch as a form of investing for the future necessarily. I view it as buy a watch as a treat for yourself, something to enjoy, something to appreciate. It's just nice that it holds its value, perhaps, and if it goes up, that's a bonus. But I wouldn't look at it as a form of trying to maximize returns. During COVID, we saw watch prices go crazy, and it was outperforming all sorts of other assets. That was a very unique time where there was just a lot of money flooded into the system due to all the government loans and quantitative easing. Let me know what you guys think. Do any of you guys view watches as investments? Now, what I think is really cool is if you want to recreate this, is it even possible? Is there a watch now you could buy that you could sit on for 60 years that would have this sort of appreciation? Because in the video you noticed on his receipt he bought 2 watches. We're only talking about one of the watches. That's obviously because the other watch, it's not gone up in significant value despite it also being bought 60 years ago. And now I don't know, but I suspect that the other watch was perhaps a Datejust, a very common watch that perhaps Rolex made a lot of at the time, a line that had predated this line, so there would be a lot more older Datejusts. And that's why in the video they're not talking about the Datejust, they're talking about the GMT, because this was the first ever release. Being the first, that could be a key to unlocking future value. If Rolex release something that they've not done before and you've got the first of that puts you in good shape for potentially having a valuable watch in the future. Also, another factor has to be supply and demand, and just the fact that because this was the first range, this is the GMT 6542, the first GMT range that they did, only ran for like 5 years. So 5 years, they do runs a lot less than that. The new Daytona they just brought out, they had it for less than a year out. The Le Mans Daytona that just came out in white gold. So there are shorter runs. So I personally think this is recreatable. If there are watches out there that we could buy now that could have this same similar sort of success story in 60 years time. But obviously we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what future decisions Rolex are going to be making. It's possible within the next 60 years the brand could head off in a completely different direction and, God forbid, make some bad decisions and become the Hublot of the watch world. That's not going to happen. Fingers crossed. And I think if you are going to do this with any brand, Rolex, AP Patek, they're your best bets because of the limited supply relatively. All right, Rolex put a lot more watches out there, but it's such a popular brand. So yeah, just think about and write in the comments if you can think of any. What watches have had considerably limited runs, or what watches were the first release of that type? So what comes to mind is the Tiffany Blue OP. They didn't do that one for very long, but the OP Oyster Perpetual line has been out for a long time, so maybe that makes that one not quite as good a choice. Another one that does strike me is the current one that just got released this year, the Yacht Master 42 in titanium. That's Rolex's first titanium watch. I don't know how many of those they're going to make, but the fact that's the first titanium watch Rolex has made, that gives you a chance there. Another watch you could argue is the Sprite. It's the first sort of left-hand drive watch that they've done. Again, massively depends how long they produce it for. Do they make many other left-hand watches after that? These are all factors to consider. And none of us have a crystal ball. You know, people didn't know that the Daytona Le Mans was only going to be out there for less than a year. You know, you do need rarity. You know, a normal stainless steel sub bought now in 60 years is probably not going to do as well as a Submariner that has perhaps a special dial, you know, one of the colours like the Mark 1 or the Mark 2 of the green Starbucks, for example, or something where there's a little niche to it, a limited run. But these are all things worth considering. But I personally think it'd be so cool to get a watch, keep it for 60, 70 years and hand it down to your children and have them enjoy it and have it be worth a fortune. It'd be something pretty cool to do. But again, like I said in this video, there's 2 watches on that receipt and we're only talking about one of them because the other one, it just didn't have the X factor. It wasn't the first in the line. The run perhaps wasn't so limited, you know. So yeah, really love this video. It's great to see the gentleman, how sort of blown away he is. And it's great that, you know, Rolex have such a strong brand that, you know, 60 years later, people still love it and appreciate it, and that watches are able to appreciate in such high value, you know, due to the quality and workmanship that the brand does. You know, that the fact that these things are still, you know, pieces that work even 60 years later.
I bought the watch just before I came back to stateside. My sergeant recommended that before I came back to the States, buy a Rolex watch.
Why did he do that?
Okay, I just got a comment on that bit. That's exactly kind of what happened with me and how I got into watches. So his sergeant recommended him buying a Rolex watch. That's how I got into watches. I was at work and I was just having a casual conversation with my boss, and my boss said to me, I was mentioning that I was interested in getting a watch, and I was telling him, oh, I think I might get this watch or that watch. I think I was talking about Tag Heuers, and he sort of just said, oh, no, what you want to do is you want to get a Rolex. And then sort of he went in to explain why Rolex are such good watches. And I'd always sort of viewed Rolexes as too expensive or just too too luxurious, not good enough for. I'm not good enough for them. But when he, you know, talked about the quality and the history and the heritage and how they often sort of hold their value really well, it gave me like a strong appreciation and just put Rolex on my radar. And then I sort of, you know, on my own sort of then started looking into it a bit. Then during sort of whenever I'd go to and from work, I would actually walk past a jeweler's that sold Rolex. And before I'd sort of walk past, not pay it too much attention. But this time, having then spoken with my boss the following months, I would then pay more attention to what was in the window and what I liked. Then I saw one that was never in the window much. It was a Rolex GMT. That was the first Rolex I bought. This is obviously, you know, it was only about 8 years ago now. Yeah, went in. I thought if I just go in and try it on. I went in, tried it on, and this was before you could walk in and buy watches without having to wait forever. So I went in, tried it on, and yeah, I was able to buy it. And I had no intention that day of waking up and buying a Rolex, but fortunately, I was in a position to be able to buy it. They offered finance. That shows crazy, innit? I took finance out to buy my first Rolex 8 years ago. So this was before I'd done well with the crypto. So, but yeah, so it's interesting that it was his boss that mentioned Rolexes and my boss that sort of put them on my radar.
Why did he do that? Do you know?
Well, he thought that was the best watch ever made. And he said, make sure you get one before you go home, and this is the one I liked.
And had you heard of Rolex before that?
Not before that, no. I've never heard or seen one before. I just took his word that it was a great watch, and it is.
And do you still wear it?
I don't wear it very often now. It's kind of a keepsake now. I wear my cheap watch now, and this is my dress watch.
Well,
I love that. He's got an amazing Rolex, but he's wearing a Casio. Legend. According to Nico, yeah, Casio's God tier, so respect.
I was very excited when you brought this up to the table. As you know, it's a Rolex. It's a GMT Master model, but it's got some very special things about it. It is the first model GMT Master that was Rolex ever made.
I didn't know that.
It's a model 6542.
This type of Rolex, it was made originally for pilots. and because it can tell the time in 3 different time zones because of the rotating bezel. Pilots, genuinely, a lot of pilots at the time wore this watch, and that helped put the watch on a lot of people's radars. People who could afford to travel in those days, obviously it was a lot more expensive back in the 60s, but you would often, people would see all the pilots wearing this watch, and even back then, it was such a strongly regarded brand. But even since then, it's just gone on. The brand recognition and strength has gone from strength to strength, so it's interesting. Okay, so regarding how much the watch is worth now, I had a look on Chrono24, and there is quite a few models on there. 33 listings, some of them are different color bezels, so maybe it's just sort of 25 that are a fairly close-ish match. I've scrolled through and clicked on most of these watches, and I've only come across 2 that have the papers, and out of those 2, only one of them also came with the box. It's not an easy thing to find this watch with the box and papers. And also then, what's the condition of that watch? Has it been serviced? When it's serviced, did they keep the original parts, or have they replaced the original parts? Because original parts really have a huge effect on the value of a watch. So I'm trying to sort of figure out if the valuation he gave in 2016 is still accurate today, or if it's gone up a fair bit. It seems that I would say the watch has gone up in value, but not a massive amount since 2016. It may have just crept into the hundreds if it's all original parts and in good condition, perhaps. Difficult to say just having a look on Chrono24. Let me know what you guys think. How much do you think this watch is currently worth? Guys, like, subscribe. Also want to mention the competition. Now, I said I was going to give a watch away, and I have picked a winner. That winner is Anish Matthews. Anish, congratulations. Now, I've already messaged Anish on Instagram, and he's chosen the Mission to Earth model, and I no longer have it with me because I posted it this morning, so that's on its way to you, Anish. So guys, if you want to win a watch like Anish, I'm going to be doing this every month. All you had to do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and you could potentially win a mission to Saturn, Pluto, or mission to the moon, aka the Snoopy. Giving one away every month, and it's for those people that like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram and leave a comment on the video. So that's all you have to do. Also, the Oyster Perpetual is still for sale. If you're interested, feel free to shoot me a message. I believe it is the cheapest in the world from what I can see online. So if you're interested, send me a message, preferably on my Instagram, which you can see the link below. Guys, the question is, which watch out there now do you think has the greatest chance of replicating the sort of success that this watch has had? Because I think it would be cool in 60 years time to be in this type of situation. Leave a comment, let me know what you guys think. I personally think right now is that titanium piece is a good option in terms of Rolexes. Also, obviously the Le Mans, but it's already discontinued and going for hundreds of thousands. And that was such a hard watch to get anyway. I don't think anyone who wasn't famous got one of those. But let us know. Regarding the competition, we'll be giving one away next month. So please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and follow my Instagram channel.